join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Begin. The audience may be seated. Color Guard, dismiss. colors. The audience can please rise. Color guard, retrieve the colors. Color guard, forward, march. The audience may be seated.
Welcome, or we're through now, so unwelcome. We're very grateful that you would come today. I would like to give our students another round of applause. I think they've done an awesome job. I'd like to thank my 7th hour class for helping escort the veterans in. And now we're going to have some other escorts to get you where you're going for the next part of our program. Some of you responded to our request to speak in our classrooms. We appreciate you for that. If you did not respond to that request and you would like to go to a classroom, you're welcome to visit any classroom that you'd like to, or you can go directly to the library for refreshments and we'll help you find your way there. So if I could have the following students come up: Rena Parker, Jackson Rogers, Caitlin Macy Ostman, Amber and Caitlin Lewis, Marshall Cox, Miley Bowcut, Corey Kernett and Tatum Kernett, Kimley Gines, Hallie Hawkins, Aspen Blazard, Parker Booth, J.C. Hallett, Shad Howells, Ethan Kirkham, Thomas Kirkham, Zane Russell, Trace Russell, and Savannah Russell, Haley Blazard, Rachel Lee, Josh West and Kaylee Leahead, Harley Kirkham, Cale Fitzgerald, and Chastity Wilson, Claire Iverson, Sage Iverson, Joseph Hamill, Hayden Anderson, Jacob Williams, Dominic Clark, Jordan Williams, and that's all the ones I have. So if we have more, then we'll take care of that. So now we will have these students, as I tell them to go get their veteran, they'll get you and escort you to the right class. So meanwhile, if we could dismiss with the 5th grade from that direction and with the 6th grade from this direction to go to your assigned locations. 7th and 8th grade sit tight for a minute, and then you'll go to your assigned location.
Tell the class where you served, when you served, a little about yourselves, and then the students will ask some questions. Correct?
I will.
Sure.
My name's Bob Bates. I was born and raised here in Summit County. Went to school in South Summit.
Yeah.
And I graduated way back in 1967. Went to school up at Utah State for a little while. Got drafted into the Army in 1969. Went down to California to do our training, down to a place called Fort Ord. That's between San Francisco and Los Angeles. And back then there were a whole lot of young guys my age that was getting drafted. I got drafted. And they don't have the draft anymore. It's just a volunteer. It's a volunteer thing now. But back then, if your name came up, you got drafted, you went into the Army. Started out by going down to Salt Lake, and we went down to the Army Induction Center, right down in the middle of Salt Lake.
For those of you who would like to go to the program that's going to be held at the elementary, that's at 2:30, which is when our bell rings, and they said that they would wait for you. So if you'd like to attend both programs, then you can just head there after you finish in your classroom. Thank you.
Anyway, we got through it. How long we got? Just a couple minutes?
You have, until about 2:15, 2:20, we can escort you over to the library for some refreshments.
Okay. When we got to the induction center, that was a big room just like this, and there was probably about 3 times as many as there is of you here. And we got all sworn in. We had to raise our arms and say we would defend the Constitution of the United States, which is what we was there for. First time I'd ever been on an airplane. They got us on an airplane and took us to San Francisco, and then we went from San Francisco with the bus ride down to Fort Ord, and that's down by Monterey. That's between Los Angeles and San Francisco. We did our training there. We did 8 weeks of basic training, and then we did another 8 weeks of AIT. Then I got to leave for 10 days and come home. I got married to my high school sweetheart, and then in 10 days we had to go back over. I had to go over to Vietnam, and I spent a year there. I was around Saigon, what's called Ho Chi Minh City now. I was between there and Cambodia, and then I went into we went into Cambodia for a little while. Come back out. Biggest part of the way through it, we got to go on what we called R&R. They give us a week off, and I got to go to Hawaii. I got to see Hawaii, which I probably never would have got to see if I hadn't been in the Army. Then I came back home and just started a life just like you guys. We're just like you. We went to defend our country, to serve our country, to try and keep people from being ruled by bad people. And that's just what our soldiers today are doing. They're going out and doing their part to help the people that are oppressed in the world, to try and make it so that people can live and go to school just like you, because a lot of kids your age can't go to school. Sometimes you think that might not be a bad idea, but it's a whole lot worse because they put them to work in the fields, they put them to work in factories. You'll study about this a lot in history now. Kids like you're getting big enough that they work you from daylight till dark. And that's what we want to have it so that we can have an education, be able to learn, and be able to get along with people. And that's what we're always trying to do with the democracy, is to be able to treat people like they should be treated. And that's kind of what I did. And that was in 1969 and 70s. Any questions?
So if you have questions in front of you, you can ask them. Yep.
Pete, I don't know, I never told him about anything about talking. You want to say anything? You don't have to stand, sit right there if you want.
I feel like I had it. After all these years of being out of school, get back and see a bunch of youngsters, and I don't know what I should say. When I was maybe your age back, I used to get up and say anything I wanted to. Sometimes right now I have a hard time, at my age, I have a hard time trying to remember things and say the right things at the right time. I'm from Maryland, and Annapolis, Maryland is the home of the United States Naval Academy. Well, I wasn't smart enough to go there. You had to be really smart to become a midshipman to go to the Naval Academy. But I got into being a printer, and I worked for the government printing office, and then I spent almost 3 years in Naples, Italy, working for the government in a government printing plant over there in Naples, Italy. So I got a chance to go around and see a little bit of Europe, which was very interesting, to go to Paris, France, or up to Germany, and went to the Eiffel Tower, went to something, oh, no, but anyhow, I enjoyed it. It was great. It was great to be there for a couple of years and see how the people over there live and what they wanted to do and stuff like that. So it was very interesting, and I enjoyed it very much. Thanks. Yeah.
All right, does anyone have any questions?
If you want to, whatever you want to tell them
Sure. All right.
about yourself.
So there's introductions, and then they do have questions or not?
I asked them to think about some, but if you want to tell a little story, if you want to give your own information, and then we can ask questions.
Great. Okay.
Okay?
All right. So I'm Mr. Tall. I teach 8th grade science. Some of you will probably have me in a couple of years, 2 years. But as for the Army, they call me Sergeant Tall. I'm a sergeant in the Army National Guard. I've been in the National Guard for 6 years, so longer than I've been a teacher. Let's see. I went to Afghanistan. I was in Afghanistan in 2012, 2013, serving in a combat engineer battalion in a vertical engineering company. Does anyone know what engineering is? What's engineering?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't really know what it is, but I
Just
just want to be an engineer.
Oh, cool. Okay. So what's your name?
CJ.
CJ wants to be an engineer? Wants to help CJ out. What's an engineer do, Parker?
I'm an engineer, the person who designs blueprints for the...
Good. They design, but also we do the building, right? So when I was in Afghanistan, mostly the officers, the company commander, and the lieutenants will design. But usually it's pretty standard what we're going to build. We build a lot of...
For those of you who would like to go to the program that's going to be held at the elementary, that's at 2:30, which is when our bell rings, and they said that they would wait for you. So if you would like to attend both programs, then you can just head there after you're finished in your classroom. Thank you.
Sweet. Okay, so we would build, and that's what our job was in Afghanistan. Was we built barracks. Does anyone know what a barracks is? It's barracks.
It's kind of like a place where soldiers are like trained and other things like that.
Good. Yeah, it's all like that. We're trained there, but in Afghanistan, it's more of a place where we just live. So that's where our room is.
That's what my next guess was.
Okay, that's that'd be a good guess. So we build barracks. We build walls. We build guard towers. If you guys know what a guard tower is, what's a guard tower?
Where the guards look over to see if anyone's trying to sneak in or planting in.
Good. Yes, or planting anything. That's a big one. Definitely. So guard towers, around your base you'll have a wall, an interior wall. Usually a couple miles beyond that you'll have an exterior wall if it's a big base. So we've got 2 walls that can protect us from anyone who's trying to get in. And then we're going to have guard towers at least covering a 360-degree perimeter around the base. You guys know what I mean by 360 degrees? Yeah, like a full circle, right? So we want to see everything. So we have people in the guard towers, and there's someone in every guard tower all the time, just to make sure that no one's creeping up.
Especially at night.
Especially at night, definitely at night. It is pretty common that people will try to at least get close enough to the wall so that they can maybe fire rockets or throw grenades over the wall. So it's important that we always have someone watching. And when you're standing in a guard tower, do you think you want to be standing in a guard tower like you're just standing on a desk, you know, just standing there? What do you want to have around you when you're in the guard tower?
Maybe like another little wall, maybe some.
Yeah.
So maybe some like bars around, so where
Good.
you can actually shoot out, but it would be hard for them to shoot in.
Very good. Yes. Yeah.
A light, so you can so during the nighttime you can spot.
Okay. Actually, you don't want to have a light up there in the guard tower because you don't want. If you have a light up in a building, everybody around can see it, right? So if I'm shining a light from the tower, then I don't want everyone to know that I'm there. Yeah, you don't want to attract attention. So you know what we have instead?
Do you have like barricades at the windows of the watchtower?
Good.
And then you can look through one of the parts?
Yeah, okay, like you were saying, we'll have, and mostly it's closed off so that they can't see in, but there is an area that we can see out of. But if it's nighttime, then we have really cool equipment that lets us see at night. You guys heard of night vision goggles?
Yeah.
Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have night vision goggles, or even better,
Lasers.
okay, lasers with thermal. So that thermal just means, you guys know what thermal means?
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it?
Like the warmth inside.
Yeah, very good, like the heat.
It detects body heat.
Exactly. So we can see body heat. You see lizards out there. You can see anyone that's moving around. You can see their body heat. And you don't see them. You just see it looks red. You see a red blob kind of moving. So that's how you can get an idea. And usually the red blob is doing something like this, moving around and doing something like that, right? And then we've got sights on them. And then we send a team out to see what's going on. So yeah, guard towers are really important. Since I'm an engineer, I'm not in the guard tower, I just build them, right? So I have to do a good job building them so that they're safe. Yeah, so lots of building projects in Afghanistan. I came home a year and a half ago, and I've been teaching here since. I started here last year. So do you have any questions about the military? Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29, so I joined the Army when I was 22, almost 23. Yep. So for me, that was right after I came home from a mission for the church. Yeah.
Did you earn any medals?
You will definitely earn medals when you join the military. The medals depend on what time, like what period we are in when you join. So if you were to join the military right now, you wouldn't automatically get a medal right away because we're not technically at war right now. But when I joined, they gave me a medal right away because we were technically at war, the global war on terrorism. But everywhere you go, you would get a medal. So I got an Afghanistan campaign medal. Usually the UN will give you a medal. You'll get medals for good behavior. You'll get medals for achievements. So yeah, you get a lot of medals. Okay, right here.
What's boot camp like?
Boot camp. Okay.
What's that?
That's a good question. Boot camp is specific to the Marines. So the Marines call it boot camp. For the Army and most of the other forces, we call it basic training or initial entry training. What that is they ship you out to one of 5 or 6 different training bases, and you stay there for about 3 months. And they're going to cut your hair, they're going to give you some cool clothes to wear, they're going to make you
Stronger.
make you stronger, but they're going to make you sleep in a room with like 25 other people on bunk beds. They're going to give you a little locker to put all your stuff in. They're going to
Shower.
train you a lot. So that means a lot of push-ups, a lot of running, and a lot of sit-ups. You'll do weapons training. So they'll train you specifically in your M16, which usually now is an M4. Does anyone know what the difference is between an M4 and M16?
Is it that, thing?
It's really not that big of a difference.
I don't know.
The M16 is longer, and the M4 is a little bit shortened on the barrel. It's a little bit better for going around corners. So if you come around a corner with a long rifle, then the rifle gets out there first, and someone can grab it. So the shorter rifle is a little bit easier. Yeah.
Isn't it M16 a 3-burst shot?
Both have a 3-burst. You have semi, you have fully automatic, and you have a 3-round burst. So that just means how quickly it fires the round. But you'll get trained in weapons. You'll get trained in hand grenades, hand-to-hand combat, which is what we call combatives, and you'll get trained in stuff like a 50 cal. But then you'll also get trained on using a gas mask, driving vehicles, doing some rappelling, obstacle courses, life-saving stuff. So like you'll do a lot of first aid, treating. That's really important. And they'll teach you how to march and stand at attention for a long time, very, very long time, hours. So it's fun. Yeah, Parker. I know his name because he asked for it. Where's I stationed? Let's see. I went to basic training in Missouri, in Fort Leonard Wood. Then I went to my specialized training in Virginia and Fort Lee. After that, I've been in Utah. So since I'm in the National Guard, I only put on this uniform and go do Army stuff once a month. So just 1 weekend a month, I go and do Army stuff. And then in the summer, for about 2 weeks, we go anywhere. We went to Dominican Republic 1 year. I've been to Iowa. We went to Germany twice already. And when I was in Afghanistan, I was stationed right on the border with Pakistan up in the mountains. It was pretty cold and lots of snow.
What time do you have to wake up at boot camp?
It depends. Usually wake up will be before 5 o'clock. But sometimes it will be earlier. And I will tell you this, they're trying to, the Army's idea is they want to break you down so they can build you back up the way they want you to be. So they are going to probably not give you very much time to sleep at the beginning. Because they want you to be stressed about not having enough sleep and still having to do stuff like push-ups and run and do your training, so that when you are in combat or if something were to happen, you're ready and you're not scared. Because when they train, after basic training, you should feel really, really good about yourself. You've accomplished a lot, and there's not really a lot of things in life that are going to scare you. And that's the way they want you, because it doesn't help if you're not prepared, and then when you're in Afghanistan, you're like, I don't know what to do, I'm scared. So you don't get a lot of sleep. But later on, you'll get more sleep.
Don't you also learn how to design the, like put together guns?
Yes, only the weapon that you use. So really, you just need to know how to take apart and put back together your M16. And because you have to clean it. I mean, when you're in Iraq or Afghanistan, it's dusty. And so you have to clean it a lot. Yeah.
What's the gun that you guys use most to carry around?
Carrying around M4, definitely. If you're an officer though, if you want to be an officer in the military, you would go to college and specifically join as an officer and not as an enlisted, and usually they have a pistol. So it's an M9, and it's back here. But for the majority of people, it's an M4. Yeah. Yes?
When and why did you decide to be in the Army?
Good question. I decided right after my mission, and I decided at that time because I didn't know that I could have joined before. I found out later that I could have joined before in the National Guard, and they would have still given me 2 years to go serve a mission. So I kind of wish I joined before, because I would have promoted when I came back. But that's why I always knew I wanted to be in the military. And the reason is 2 parts. One, my grandfather on both sides, both of my grandfathers were in the military. They're both in the Army. One of them was he was a captain in the Army, and the other one was a sergeant. And neither of them served in an actual war. Like, one of my grandfathers was supporting in Korea, but they raised me to have respect for the military and for the people who are serving our country. And then the second part of that is because of their example, I just really wanted to be of service. I felt like it was just a noble calling. So that's probably mostly why. Yes. And then I'll come back to you.
How long did you have to go to college for?
Well, I went to college not for my military job. I'm not an officer in the Army, so it didn't really relate to my career in the military. But it does help me get promoted because I have a college degree. So I'm getting ready to promote here in about a month, largely because I got a degree in college. But I was in college for 5 years, and that was to become a teacher. Yeah, Parker.
Were you still in the military?
Yes, yep, I still am in the military. I'm not active because I don't do military every day. So there's 2 ways you can be in the military. You can be active duty, and that means that every day your job is being in the military. And there's probably some of you who raise your hand if you have a cousin or a brother or a sister or an aunt or an uncle that is currently active duty in the military. Where are they at right now?
One stationed in.
Is it in the U.S. or is it overseas?
It's in the U.S. I think.
Okay. Is he in the Army?
Yeah.
So he might be in Hawaii or
Yeah.
Washington
Yeah.
or North Carolina, or they
Yeah.
have a couple of big bases where they'll
Yeah.
station them at. Where's your brother or
My
cousin?
cousin.
Yeah.
Right now he's in New Jersey.
Cool. Yeah, probably at Fort Dix. Is that where he's at?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. That's interesting. What?
I knew there's a fort in New Jersey.
Yeah, Fort Dix is in New Jersey. Yeah.
My uncle, I can't remember where he's at, but he's in Army Infantry.
Cool. He's probably in Georgia then. A lot of infantrymen are in Fort Benning, which is in southern Georgia. Yes.
Do you guys travel to the city?
Good question. It depends on where we're going. If we're just going to training in the United States, then yes, we'll take an airplane. But even when I went to Afghanistan, we just took the United Airlines to Kyrgyzstan, which is a really funny sounding country that's kind of by there. And it took us to the Air Force Base, and then we got on a helicopter that took us from Kyrgyzstan to Afghanistan.
Have you ever been in a life-threatening situation?
A couple of times, but not anything that's like super serious. Really what will happen most of the time is if you are deployed, you'll spend a lot of time on base, and it's a safe place to be, but just like anywhere, it can be unsafe, especially if they're firing rockets, which they will tend to do. So if a rocket comes, you get pretty scared. The alarms will go off and it'll say incoming, incoming, and then everyone knows to get on the ground and then hustle to a barrack, to a bunker. You guys know what a bunker is? And it's just like cement walls and it's in the ground. So those are kind of scary. But as far as what we would call a firefight, which means that you're shooting and people are shooting specifically directly at you, I have not been in one of those. Yes.
Doesn't the alarm say incoming projectile?
It depends. Usually it just says incoming, incoming. For us, it said some really crazy word because we were on a Polish base a lot of the time. So it started off in a Polish word. I could pretend how it sounds, but I don't know exactly how it sounds because I heard it a lot.
If you're a girl at boot camp, they still make you shave your hair?
No.
Okay.
What you will be expected to do if you're a girl in the military is to be able, either your hair has to be short enough that it's off of your shoulders, or you can tie it up in a bun. And you would be expected to have it in a bun whenever you're in uniform. Yes.
How much did you get paid in the army?
Depends on your rank. If you were to graduate high school and just start out in the military, maybe as a level 1, just as a private, you could expect to make $3,000 a month. So that's about $30,000 a year. After taxes, probably closer to 27, 26. But as an 18-year-old, that's pretty good money.
Yeah.
Especially since you just graduated high school and you didn't go to college. But going to college and doing other kinds of training that help you promote, you would get paid more money. So where I'm at, if I was active duty as an E5, so I'm level 5 on the enlisted side, well, technically an E6, I could, if I was active duty, I could expect to make 42 or so thousand, but every year. If you went to college and graduated and became a lieutenant, that first year as a lieutenant out of college, you could expect to make close to 50 in a year. Yeah. So they get paid a lot more because they've gone to college, and the officer side of things is a lot more leadership. You have to do the planning, and you have to plan the training and plan the mission. On the enlisted side, it's more, this is what the officers want us to do, and so let's do it. You know, like my job is to train my soldiers to do the task, not to think of what tasks I want them to do. Yes.
Why did you decide to become a teacher?
I always wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher before I went in the military. That was just kind of a career goal for me. Right here, and then I'll go there. You know, when you're in basic training, they will give you 2 or 3 times that you can call. And usually it'll only be for about 20 minutes or so, maybe less. But when we were in Afghanistan, you have the option of using stuff like Skype. So if you're on a base that has internet, which is most of them, then I Skype my family. I Skype my wife pretty much every day. The only times that you can't is if something has happened and then they lock down everything. And then there's no internet, which is scary for everyone at home because you don't know what's going on. But those were just maybe every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Did you ever have drills like you know how we have fire drills here? Did you ever have drills there?
Oh yeah, lots of drills, tons. In basic training, they teach you how to use a gas mask, and you go into a gas chamber, right, and they'll teach you how to put the mask on, clear the gas out. But in basic training, they love to, when you're sleeping, just throw a CS grenade in there, and then the gas goes off, and you have to put your helmet on, and put your mask on. And, yeah. So, if you misplace your mask, then you're going to be in trouble because you're going to be coughing a lot, and usually it'll make you throw up.
Would
too,
knock
so.
you out.
It's really, it doesn't knock you out, it just makes everything burn. Anything that's like your mouth and your eyes and everything will just burn. Like, not burn like actually burn, but feel like burning and you'll cry a lot. Yeah. You would get paid twice a month. So they'll give you half on the 15th and half on the 1st.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's, you guys have been asking some
Lots of
really
questions,
awesome
yeah.
questions, yeah. We might have time for one more, and
Okay.
then we need to get going.
Wrap it up. Oh
Yeah,
man,
wrap it up.
there's so many options. I don't even know. Right here, you haven't asked me.
Okay, how do you like get into the army? Like,
Good
what do
question.
you have to do? Like, go to your home, to the boot camp, to the...
Okay, if you're interested in joining the Army or the Air Force or Marines or Navy, or even the Coast Guard, you would talk to a recruiter. So a recruiter they have an office, it'll just say Army Recruiting Office or Navy Recruiting Office. You can look them up online. And you would, yeah, they're everywhere. You would just talk to them and they would say, okay, let's check your medical history, let's check your criminal record, because they don't want you to have a criminal record. They're gonna check, your grades and everything, they'll have you take a test. More, and especially importantly, you can't even really talk to them until you're 17, and if you wanted to join up when you're 17, your parents have to sign. So,
Isn't the test like 50
it's
questions?
not until you're 18. It's more than that, but it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Do they still come to the school, like in high school?
High schools, yes, sometimes, especially because they'll have an ROTC program. I don't know if our high school does, but most of the bigger high schools have an ROTC program, and I bet you Wasatch's ROTC guy comes up here to talk to people. Yes.
Does stealing candy count as not...
It would go on your juvenile record, so not really. They're really concerned with anything that's on your actual adult record.
Why, CJ? Did you
Like
steal
rock-
something?
But it's,
My little brother
I'll
does.
tell you this, we don't like thieves in the Army at all. No one likes that. So yeah. So just don't do anything wrong, and you can be in the Army, and it's cool. Yeah.
I think that's awesome, you guys did great.
All right.
Please say thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'll see you guys around.
I'm gonna escort you down to the
Oh yeah.
library, okay? Awesome. Thank you.
Bye guys.
Bye.
See you in the future.
They have given me none. I'm supposed to test them all on something, right?
Right, that's what you're doing.
Give them the test. This is how he starts
For
their
those
final
of you who would like
grade.
to go to the program that's going to be held at the elementary, at our building,
He's to fail, right?
for you, so if you like both programs, then
He's a
there
fail.
after you
I don't care. We're just missing.
Yeah, but you gotta kick off. Where does it start?
And take them back for our guests to sit. So they don't have to sit in the desk.
Vente, concept. Vente, concept.
Can I keep this?
You can keep that. Here, Joyce, can you look in the...
So is all seventh grade?
Yes.
There's another
Sixth
Cheryl.
graders? No, all just seventh grade?
Yes.
Coolest grade ever. Yeah, I didn't start getting thrown out of school till eighth grade.
Malachi. Do it.
All right, so my name's Alex Peterson. I'm a retired colonel in the United States Marine Corps. Kind of a cool thing today. My dad, who was also a Marine, so Marines were not known for being the smartest, so I just did what my dad did. But my dad was also a Marine, and he's a Korean War vet. And in the back, we've got Wendy. He's trying to hide, but he's also a Korean War vet. And not a lot of people know about the Korean War. It's known as the Forgotten War, and it's kind of tragic. But those are some serious, hardcore veterans. And if you ever get a chance to meet one of them, really
special people. I choke up a little bit because I think about what my dad's service was like. I know you all have some questions for me, but if you don't mind, I'm going to start you off with a little lesson about that. Most veterans were just like you, or just like your parents, but I will give you a warning. The one question that you feel like you sometimes want to ask a veteran, don't let them, you know. So when I do some of these things, sometimes I get the question, so have you killed anybody? And it's kind of a neat question, and I understand why people want to ask me that. But for most veterans, that's probably not the right thing to ask them, because if they've been in that situation, that's not the thing they want to talk about again. And so that's just probably the one question to avoid. You know, if the veteran wants to talk about it, let them, you know, they'll talk about it on their own. But for some of us, that part of our service is not the part of the service we want to remember. Fair enough? All right, that's pretty cool. I know you all have some questions for me, but let me just kind of give you a little bit about what I do and what I did. I was a Marine. I served 27 years, 22 years on active service. I tried to join when I was 17, but my father, being smarter than I was, refused to sign the papers, so I had to wait till I turned 18. But by then, I had already started college, and so when I went to see my recruiter, he said, okay, we'll take you, because Marines, they'll take anybody coming up to sign. And so I signed up, but you know, we take care of each other in the military, and that's one of the first lessons we learned about was taking care of each other. So the guy that brought me in, he knew that I needed to stay in college, so he signed me up, but secretly transferred me over to the officer programs. And so I actually became an officer by accident. I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I just thought I was going to go be a Marine like my dad. And I kept saying, well, when do I get to go shave my head? When do I get to go do all that cool stuff? And he said, we'll get to you, we'll get to you. And then, you know, by the time they got to me, I got commissioned and started serving as a Marine officer. I'll tell you, there's three parts to my service, generally speaking, but I've served, gosh, you guys don't have a globe in here, but you could probably spin your globe, and I've probably been there. Been just about everywhere. But there's kind of the beginning part of your service, and it's all the same, where they kind of teach you what to do and how to be a military person. And then you spend a lot of time doing whatever that job is that you've been assigned to do. And then occasionally you do have to go out and do what we ask the military to do, which is go fight in our country's wars. And so I did that. I did a number of deployments to the Middle East, a couple times to Iraq, a couple times to some of the places. When I went to Afghanistan, we were not yet invited in. And so I was part of the initial build-up and the initial assault there. So we came out of Kyrgyzstan, which, if you grab one of those big round globes, you can find it on there. But it's a small country in Central Asia that was kind enough to let us start our attacks from there. And then I spent the rest of my career all over the world, primarily South America. Did a lot of stuff with counter drugs. I can tell you some wonderful stories about why you shouldn't do drugs. Not only is it bad for you, but if you saw the way they made drugs, you'd be like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm gonna put that in my body? I don't think so. It's some pretty sick stuff. But did that all over South America. Didn't like Africa much. I went there a couple times. A couple of my buddies loved going to Africa, but Africa was never really my thing. Marines, we went to Europe, but they don't like sending us to Europe because it's too nice, and they only sent us to the nasty places. So, and then did a couple stints out in Southeast Asia. That's basically, you know, Japan, Indochina, Burma, that area. So, and then I finished off in California. Big base in the middle of the desert, out in the middle of nowhere. And then my kids, who I had never seen, who I didn't get to coach them in soccer. Got a couple of my soccer players in here. So my wife and I decided to go ahead and leave the military service, and I retired. And I thought I'd come somewhere where there's some nice folks, so we came to Camas. I got 2 kids over in Camas in South Summit High School. So I thought it might be nice to occasionally see my kids before they left the house. So I decided to retire and came here. All right, is that a good enough general background? All right, you all have any questions? Everything but the one scary question is perfectly allowable. Yes, ma'am?
What do you do, like, what have you done since you retired?
Since I retired, well, I actually went to law school at one point, the Marine Corps. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why, but for whatever reason, they gave me a little time off to go to law school. And when I was at law school, I met this really beautiful woman. By the way, boys, always marry someone that's better looking than you, smarter than you, and that'll make more money than you. I'm telling you, that's a secret success. That's my wife. I met her at law school. We're both lawyers now. We do employment rights and civil rights litigation. You know what that means? So I'll give you a good example. Let's say, you think it'd be fair if you lost your job just because you're a lady? No. So we defend people like that. Yeah, so that's what the employment rights stuff. Right now I've got a client who's a sheep herder that they don't pay as a sheep herder. They pay him as a cowboy. It's not fair. So we do that sort of stuff. But we have a small law firm here in Utah now. My wife and I, a couple other lawyers. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How hard was boot camp for you?
You know, boot camp, you're making it tough because I can't use Marine-like words. They're not appropriate. It's very difficult. Boot camp's a transformational sort of an experience. You take an ordinary citizen, and, American citizens are incredible. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been all over the world. And just the basic American citizen is just probably one of the most awesome things you'll ever run into. They're just so kind and generous. I've been stuck out in an airport and I've had Americans come up to me and, it's funny, you talk to people everywhere, they say, Americans are always smiling. It's because we're friendly. But we're all very individualistic, we all wear different clothes and we like different hairstyles and we all do things different. And what boot camp is it takes that away from you. And it teaches you how to work together as a team, as one unit. It lasts 3 weeks, or 3 months. One of the tours of duty that I did, actually this ribbon, was because I was down there at boot camp. I was running boot camp for a while with the drill instructors. And it's pretty fun. It's pretty scary, and it's 3 months of terror, and it changes you. But you learn that with your buddy on your left and your buddy on your right, you can do anything that you're asked to do. You truly can do anything you're asked to do. Yes, ma'am?
I have a follow-up question to that.
Sure.
So how is it, the Marines boot camp different than like boot camp for the Army, boot camp for Air Force, boot camp for?
The Marine Corps is roughly.
So the Marine Corps is a little bit smaller, and we're like the step-headed, red-headed stepchild of the family. All right.
It's just
Hey, but you know what? But the great thing about it is, because that's who we aren't very, all we get used for is to open doors. And I mean that in a very violent sort of way. That's primarily what the Marine Corps' mission is. Our mission is to close with and defeat the enemy. And so what we do, we don't have a very technical start. We go right to boot camp. They get us all in the same piece of sheet of paper, and then they send us right to Marine combat training. Marine combat training for an enlisted Marine lasts about 6 weeks. For an officer, it lasts about 6 months. So just to earn the title Marine, it took me 9 months. And then they finally sent me to a school to tell me what work they wanted me to do when I wasn't having to open doors in a very violent way. All right. In the other services, because they're so much bigger, they have veterinarians, they have pilots, they have doctors, they have all these specialized. And so Their boot camp tends to be much shorter. You know, I don't want to start a fight with my brother in the back, but we call it, they tend to go to knife and fork school where they learn how to, you know, use their knives and forks and be polite and put on a uniform. And we go to school to learn how to paint our faces and close with and destroy the enemy. So it's not a bad thing being the red-handed stepchild.
How'd you get off at 3 months of boot camp?
What's that?
How'd you get off 3 months boot camp? When I went through basic training, I had 16 weeks of it, 4 months.
Yep. Yeah, so it changed it around quite a bit. I'll tell you, it's, when I first went, it was very physical boot camp, but you guys are so much smarter than we are. And I mean that, seriously. The young people that are coming into the military service now are so much smarter. And so boot camps they've tightened it up a little bit. We run about 10,000 through a year. About 10,000 go through boot camp. But usually what it is they've breaking off the basic boot camp, then they have the Marine combat training, and then you have your MOS specific school that you would go to afterwards. So if you're a tank driver or an assaultman, you know, then you would go to another school. So it's kind of interesting. It's about, for most, even the most unskilled military person, it takes about a year of training before you're ready to actually go to work. It's a great question. Any others? Yeah? Yeah.
Would you get paid while you're let's say, would your family get paid while you're in boot camp or whatever?
Yes, so usually your salaries, you got your basic salary, and then sometimes they give you a little extra for, you know, they call it an allowance for housing, because you might live at a base where they have base housing, right? But if your base doesn't have housing, then it's kind of not fair if you're at one of those bases, right? So they'll give you a little bit extra for that. I will tell you, in the Marine Corps, pretty much everybody gets paid the same. Some of the other services have different bonuses for the specialized people in the services. So like if you're a doctor, because you've had extra school, you get extra pay. But the salary's definitely not a reason to join the Marine Corps. You join because you want to serve. And it really is for service that you do it. And then I'll tell you, you know, for someone like me, you stick around because you really fall in love. You start to love the people to your left and to your right. And you don't want to leave them behind, and you want to keep serving them. So, but it's a lot of service, and it's really tough on the family. If you ever get to meet my kids, a couple of you all have, I think they've been to like about 8 different schools, and they're only in 9th and 10th grade. So they're trading out of schools, going to a different elementary school and a different middle school about every year, every other year. It's really tough if you want a family, or if you like families. I mean, I'd go see my family maybe once a year, unless I was deployed. But my wife and I had our 20th wedding anniversary last year on the 21st anniversary of our wedding, because I was gone on the 20th. And then we had to shift the date 2 months, because sure enough on the 21st anniversary I wasn't around. So that sort of stuff would happen all the time. You know, I remember when my son was born, my wife called me from the hospital and said, "Alexander's about to be born." And I said, "I can't get there, can you hold off 4 hours?" But she is a Marine wife, so she did. And I managed to make it there for his birth. But, you know, that's pretty normal. What else? Yes, ma'am?
Besides opening doors violently, what
Yeah.
else did you do? as an
So,
officer?
I thought I was going to be first I thought I was going to be an infantry officer and lead an infantry unit. And then I got stuck being a lawyer. And I thought, well, gosh, I guess I'm going to be a lawyer. I did that for about 2 years, and then I got stuck into a thing called operational planning. And so what that means is, like when the president says, "Hey, we want to go drop bombs on the bad guys in Syria, right? That's all he says. And then someone like me takes that and figures out everything that needs to be done in order to make that happen. Does that make sense? So a couple years ago, for example, let's talk about something less sad. A couple years ago, terrible earthquake happened in Haiti. All the buildings fell down. You know, people are eating dirt because there's no food. I mean, I'm kidding you not. They're putting water with dirt, making mud cakes, and eating that because there's no food. That's really terrible. The president says, I want to help out the people in Haiti that are starving. He calls somebody like me, and we figure out how many planes, trains, automobiles, people, stuff, gear, how to get there, when to get there. So that sort of stuff. We put the whole thing together. When we first decided to go visit Afghanistan, before we could kick the door down in a violent way, I was one of the guys that figured out, well, what do we need to kick the door down? How many Marines do I need? What kind of artillery do they need? What kind of guns? Bombs? Planes? You know, plane will only fly so far. So all that sort of stuff has to be figured out. It's like, how many of you all love math? It's like really complicated math. It's like really complicated math. Make sense? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do the
I am
Marines,
sensitive to your call.
Oh, you're fine, I have.
do the Marines usually help out with natural disasters?
We do. One of the first things, this is going to really date me. You guys don't remember the LA riots, but you all might remember the LA riots. So sometimes we do, when there's really bad forest fires in Montana, some of the Marines will usually come up from California. The Haiti national disaster, Chile had a really bad earthquake. I got sent down for the Chilean earthquake. Been sent a number of times to South American countries and African countries when they have revolutions. And there's Americans stuck there, and then we'll go and help them get out. So humanitarian disaster response is a huge part of some of the work that I did in South America. And it's really tough to figure out because, I mean, you know, you think about, let's say you want to give your family that lives somewhere a box of cookies for Christmas. What do? Well, you go to the post office, you put a stamp on it, and you put it in you hand it to the lady, and they get it, right? It's that easy. But all the stuff that's happening in the back is what we're figuring out. You know, how to get it there, who to give it to make sure it's properly distributed. So we did a lot of disaster response throughout the world. Yeah. Another one?
We have a list of questions.
Yeah.
One of the questions that the students wrote said, did you earn any medals?
So this, we call it our fruit salad, because, you know, it's got a medley of colors, are all my medals. Actually, it's not quite all of them. All the ones that are on this side for the Marine uniforms are medals, and the ones that we never wear them, that are on this side are our ribbons. And the one that I'm wearing right here is actually, it took me 27 years to earn. This is the one that says, I'm finally an American citizen again. I'm retired. All right. But yes, these are my medals.
Another question the student wrote said, did you or were you able to celebrate your birthday or other holidays while serving?
So my birthday was yesterday. Do you all know what yesterday was? It's the Marine Corps' birthday. I turned 239 years old yesterday. The Marine Corps was founded in November 10th, 1775 at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia. And we've been fighting in saloons ever since. So every year we celebrate the Marine Corps birthday. It's a very special event. We get all dressed up in our dress blue uniforms, our really fancy uniforms, and it's a formal ball. And it's very special for us. And I've done that birthday in combat in the middle of, I remember doing it with a bunch of Colombian Marines in the middle of the jungles of Colombia when I was doing counter-drug ops. In Las Vegas, Nevada with a bunch of folks, to the Pentagon with, would have been Vice President Bush at that time. So that's the birthday that means the most to me. The other birthday is kind of like my wedding anniversary. I kind of miss it every year. And then, but fortunately, I have a beautiful wife who reminds me, hey, you missed your birthday again. So, yeah, there was another question over here. No? Oh, over here, sir.
No.
No? All right. No?
We have another one.
Yeah.
Let's see. This kind of asks about your favorite place that you traveled to during service.
You know, I tell you, I've been so many places. I mean, really, so many places. Kyrgyzstan was pretty neat, Central Asia. I loved South America. Got to go skiing in Chile. I'll tell you what's kind of the cool place that I would have never have expected to have gone there. You'll appreciate this, because he's probably been there. I actually did get to go to North Korea. North Korea is what we call a closed country. Usually if Americans go there now, they end up getting thrown in prison. So it's very difficult to get there. But I just happened to be working with a gentleman, and we were working on a project, and we went to South Korea, and we just had an opportunity to go up and visit North Korea. And it was like one of the few times that they actually allowed a military person in the country. So getting to see and getting into North Korea was way cool. Now, I wouldn't recommend it for a vacation spot because it was absolutely terrible, but just it was like, nobody else got to go. So for me, it made it kind of cool. You know what I mean? It was one of those places where nobody else could get to go, and I got to go there. So that was kind of neat.
Just a quick follow-up then.
Yeah.
So you said Africa, you didn't really like traveling to Africa. But what was it exactly about Africa that you disliked?
Tough to be so honest with the kids.
Yeah.
I don't mean to make you. You got to remember, with the military service is not just all creams and cookie. So Africa is there's some terrible poverty, and it was just really hard for me to see the children, starving to death, and the real impoverished conditions. When you see people living like that, it's not the coolest thing in the world, and you feel good about helping them out, but I tell you, maybe someday when the high school football team is doing twofers, and they have outdoor porta-johns, and after they've been doing twofers for a whole week, go sit in one of those outdoor porta-johns for about 3 hours, and that's what Africa's like. You know what I mean? It's nasty. And you think about other human beings living like that, it just breaks your heart. Broke my heart. So that's why I didn't like going to Africa. It was too depressing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Last question.
Yeah, maybe this will be a cheery one.
I hope this is a cheery one. The last question just says, would you recommend this? Do you hope that your children go into the Army or go into the Marine Corps or Navy, military somehow?
That's a great question. I do. I think the greatest thing that you can do is serve others. And however you do that, I suspect some of you may choose to do it with a LDS mission, or if you choose to do it some other way. But I can think of no greater thing in the world than to serve others. And so I hope that my son and my daughter choose to find a way to serve other people, because it's easy enough to just
Mrs.
take care
Russell,
of
could you
yourself.
check at the office, please, Mrs. Russell?
Yeah?
Thank you. Thank
All right.
you.
I'll see you later.
Rachel, do you want to